Welcome, my friends, to a new episode of Frameworks. And in this episode, we're going to talk about NLP, Neuro-linguistic Programming. And of course, as usual, we're going to talk about a framework that we can use in teaching English language. But first, let me start by saying that many people say that neuro-linguistic programming is what we call a pseudo-scientific approach. But why do they call it that? Well, there are so many reasons why some people say that it's a pseudo-scientific approach. Now, the first reason is lack of empirical evidence. Now, someone might say, Shady, what do you mean by lack of empirical evidence? Actually, scientists were unable to prove many of the things that neuro-linguistic programming claims to be facts. And one of these things is that learners have some dominant styles, like the VAC, or what we call visual learners and auditory learners and kinesthetic learners. And again, in neuro-linguistic programming, many claim that, there is a dominant learning style. Now, this was not proven by empirical studies, no. So there's no evidence for this one here. Well, another example, also in neuro-linguistic programming, they say that, your eye movement reveals your thinking, which is also another point that wasn't proven by empirical studies as well. So that seems to be one of the problems, that there are so many things being said, but these things are not backed by empirical studies, or research. Another reason why it is called a pseudo-scientific approach is that there are so many overgeneralizations when it comes to neuro-linguistic programming. And what we mean by that, overgeneralize the statements about how people think, how people behave, people's emotions, and again, nothing proven scientifically. That's also another reason. Also, there is no clear theory behind it, and that makes it lack scientific basis. Another reason is commercialization over research. In other words, there is a lot of, marketing when it comes to neuro-linguistic programming. Lots of, very expensive courses, certifications, and serious lack in research. Another reason why it is considered a pseudo-scientific approach is that many scientists and many academics and big names refused neuro-linguistic programming as a scientific approach for the reasons that we mentioned before, and they dismissed it for lacking scientific evidence. Now, someone might say now, but Shady, if you are saying all that, why are we going to have an episode about, neuro-linguistic programming if so many people are saying that it's a pseudo-scientific approach, and all that stuff, then why this episode? And I'd say because many of the principles in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, can be very helpful in teaching English as a foreign language. Yes, we've mentioned all these negative, things about it, academically speaking, but we cannot deny that many of the practices in NLP can be really helpful in the English classroom. And that's why we're running this episode and we're talking about this new framework. Now, what makes neuro-linguistic programming very good for English language teaching is that it's all about how people think, feel, and learn. And simply, that's what we want in the English classroom. So now let's go back a bit and talk about the beginning of neuro-linguistic programming, or the history of neuro-linguistic programming. And the idea first appeared in a book called The Structure of Magic. And that was in 1975. And the book was written by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. So they simply said in this book is that how we think, speak, and behave are all connected, and that we can change patterns so that we can reach our goals. So that was the main focus in this book. So now, enough of the theoretical stuff, and let's get, to the practical part. But again, I found that this previous introduction was really necessary, okay, for those who are not familiar with neuro-linguistic programming. Now, let's start, okay, tackling this as English language teachers. What can we do in the English language classroom? And again, I would say stage number 1 is what we call priming. Now, what is priming in neurolinguistics? What's that? And simply it is getting your brain ready to think or feel in a certain way. Now, how can we say this, but in terms of English language teaching? It is actually to emotionally and mentally prepare your students for the lesson topic by activating their senses and personal connections. And how can we do that? So inside priming, there are things you can do as an English teacher in order to achieve this aim. Number 1, you need to set the scene. Okay? Like make your students aware of the context. That's number 1, setting the scene. And after that, exploring senses. Make your students feel the topic in terms of listening, in terms of seeing, okay? So what we call actually the VAC, the visual, okay, auditory and kinesthetic senses. So you want them to see something. You want to activate their hearing. You want also to add body language to this. And the third thing you need to do is emotional connection. You need to connect them emotionally to this topic, or find the emotional connections if they are already there. And we're going now to see this stage in action from actually an online session that I was running on Google Meet. And actually the main aim was functional language, and the topic was kind of giving reviews about good restaurants, bad restaurants, that sort of stuff. And students were at the B2 level, so they're upper intermediate students. And again, let's see how I did this. Let's go. Okay, so as you see, you've got a couple of pictures here. Okay, both of them are of restaurants. And the question is, what do you expect from a great restaurant, and what drives you crazy? So, waiting for your ideas. Raise your hands if you want to share something. Let me go to Hussein. Hussein, what about you? What do you expect from a great restaurant?
I expect good treatment, the good food first and foremost one, and the good service. It doesn't take a lot of much time, and we are hungry, and this kind of stuff.
Okay, and what drives you crazy?
First one, when you order, you order like number 8, and someone's from above you. It's number 11 took his order and he didn't take it, or this kind of weird. It happens many times.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. I mean, that's bad when it happens. I agree. Right. So let me go to Rehab. Rehab, what about you? What do you expect from a great restaurant?
Okay, I expect tasty food, clean and comfortable seat, friendly, and I think professional staff also, and fast service, because sometimes we wait for maybe an hour for the food. Reasonable prices, I think. Good atmosphere, good lighting.
Okay, interesting. Right. And what drives you crazy?
Of course, dirty dishes or bad smell. Also, rude or slow staff. Also, they are sometimes rude. Long waiting time. Sometimes we wait a lot, and overpriced meals. Sometimes also. And what drives me really crazy, the loud voice of the music.
I'm going to start with, a video here, okay? And actually, at the very beginning, I decided to give you a video for Amr Billah. Then I changed my mind about Billah, okay? Because, no need to mention the reasons. But anyway, we're going to watch a video for a food blogger, okay? And what I want you to do, I want you to watch the video carefully, and I want you to answer these 6 questions, okay? Now, I'll give you some time to read the questions carefully. If there is something that you want to ask about, okay, something that is not clear, tell me. So have a look at the questions first, and I'm going to send them actually to your WhatsApp group. So let me do that. Okay, are we ready to watch? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go.
Gave me a nice cocktail. It does have booze in it. Is that correct, Manny?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Never too early.
Things are gonna get wild today. It's really good, actually. It's a lot of pressure, right? So pull it open. But it looks like.
Look at that.
Oh, it looks pretty perfect. Look at that.
That's so beautiful.
You nailed it.
We have focaccia.
So this is supposed to remind you of sitting on the beautiful streets of Italy, chowing down on prosciutto and focaccia. Egg sauce on the bottom. The coolest part about that dish right there is that you can actually taste the truffle, but it's not overwhelming. It doesn't punch you in the face. It's perfect. The egg yolk sauce there on the bottom pulls the whole thing together with this really gooey, sticky, and almost kind of creamy sauce for the pasta. It's also just mind-blowingly delicious. And this is the focaccia, the one that's supposed to remind you of sitting on the beautiful Italian streets or countryside.
Okay, my friends, now what I want you to do, let's get back to our questions. I want you to discuss these 6 questions, with your partners in breakout rooms. Okie dokie. So let's do that.
Hand gestures, he was doing like that all the time. He looked relaxed, I think. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And the second question, was the dining area calm or chaotic? I think it was calm. Nobody there. The space looked cleaned and organized, I think. Yeah?
Yeah, do you think that was prepared because he's a blogger and they wanted
Of course, they prepared everything before he came, I think, before he's coming, yes, of course, yeah.
Okay.
What kind of tone did the food blogger use? Calm, angry, passionate. I think he was cheerful and passionate. Yeah?
The surround fact.
Yes, my point is I didn't notice anybody else but him in the place, just the waiters maybe and the food blogger.
Yeah, but just if you just try to remember, you could hear like some noise around.
Now, you discussed 6 questions together about this short video by the food blogger in there. I mean, what interesting ideas have you discussed while you were on breakout rooms? Can you raise your hands and share some of the interesting things you heard from your partners?
Me and Ms. Lena agreed about a nice point about his gestures when he was talking. I really noticed that he tried to send emotional gestures, emotional messages to tell people that you will have a nice time here, not just to enjoy the food.
Okay.
And at the end of every week, some people go to the restaurants to have a nice meal with family, not to just enjoy the food.
Yeah. So what interested you were the gestures.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about you, Hussein? Now, my friends, let me move to these three discussion questions here. And again, the first one is, have you ever had a truly unforgettable restaurant experience? Was it amazing, disappointing, shocking? How did you react at the time? What language or words did you want to use or wish you had used? Okay, so again, I'll send you this whole handout. That's the last question in this handout. Think about it, and then I'll give you 1 minute to prepare yourself, and then I'll send you to breakout rooms to discuss these together.
Restaurant experience, which was amazing, because the restaurant was super clean and the food was great, well done and tasty. So I felt great at that time, and the vibes were very positive, as we were in winter, and the atmosphere there was really warm and cozy. So we had a great time there, and it was a nice experience.
For sure, I didn't ask about the price.
Never ask. Better not ask about the price.
Yeah.
One day I was in city center. I was ordering from McDonald's before the war. And someone tried to steal my wallet. He was joking. He was acting like he was stealing me, but I didn't know him. So I knocked him out. I hate him. After that, he told me that he was joking, and the waiter, the cashier, looked at me strangely, that I'm a bully, something like that. After that,
it's not funny to like.
Yeah, of course, I didn't know him. I thought that he was a thief.
Now, the second stage, my friends, after priming is what we call anchoring. Now, we need to understand first what's anchoring in neuro-linguistic programming. And it is simply connecting a feeling to a gesture, an image, or a word. One more time. Connecting a feeling to a gesture, a word, or an image, so that it becomes easy to recall this feeling back, to get it back, to feel it again. Now, someone might say, Shady, and in teaching English, how can we do this? Or what's the aim when it comes to teaching English? The aim is to help learners connect positive feelings to the target language. Curiosity, confidence, excitement. We need the students to have these feelings about the target language. And how can we do that? What's included in the anchoring stage? Let me take you through that. The first thing that we need to do inside the second stage, which is anchoring, is what we call contextual framing. And it's a bit close to what we call in English language teaching contextualization, having the target language in a context. So contextual framing. But again, in neuro-linguistic programming, the focus needs to be on emotion, body language, okay? So you need to focus on these as well, right? And then after that, you move to introducing language. And when you introduce language, you introduce the meaning and the form. Someone might say, Shadi, what about pronunciation, or say it's coming? But again here, language presentation, we will focus on meaning and form first, right? And again, how can we focus on them? Either through as we say, explanation, guided discovery, or self-directed discovery. So in this part, it's the normal teaching that we do, right? But of course, with a difference, and the difference is coming in the following stage, which is what we call the anchoring phase. Now, what happens in the anchoring phase is that you need to connect every item in the target language, okay, with a body movement. So, one more time, you need to connect every language item you're teaching to a body movement so it becomes easy for your students to recall it. Some might say, what if it is difficult to find, a sort of body language? Then remember, it can be an image, it can be a word. So you need to connect this sort of language with something that would make it very easy for students to recall and retrieve. Now, after the anchoring phase, we move to the personal anchoring. Now, what happens in the personal anchoring is that we want students to connect the target language to physical movement of their own inventions. So we want them to come up with the thing that would make it easy for them to recall the language again, right? So one more time. So 4 things happen inside the anchoring stage. The first, what we call contextual framing. And then you move from contextual framing to language presentation, focus on meaning and form. And then you move to the anchoring stage. And then the anchoring stage, or the anchoring phase, what you do is that you try to link the language, okay, to a physical movement. And also you get your students to repeat after you with the right intonation and the right body language, because all this makes them, able to recall the word. And here will be, intonation will be very, very, very important. Body language will be very important. And again, pronunciation can be clarified through the repetition and drilling, so you don't need to handle it on its own later. It can be handled in the anchoring phase. And then you come to the personal anchoring, and in the personal anchoring part, what you will do is that you will get students to create, okay, their own images or words or body language that would help them retrieve the target language. And this stage is called the anchoring stage. So let's go to the anchoring part here and see how these, phases inside the anchoring stage were applied in this lesson. Let's go. Okay, so, and the question is, what's your natural body language when you love a meal? And what do you do when you're disappointed? So, like for me, let me give you an example about myself. For me, when I love, a meal, I go like, right? And 2 thumbs up. That's what I do, normally. Okay. When I hate, a meal, sometimes I go like that, but this is when it's like too bad. I would go like, it doesn't happen a lot to me, but it happens sometimes, in some restaurants. But anyway, right, let's talk about you. Hussein, what about you? When you love a meal, what sort of body language do you have?
I stint my body language from the group.
What was that?
We'll find out.
I know. Okay, Hannah, what about you? Hannah, want to say something?
Yes, in fact, when I love some food, I would give the famous
okay.
like you, and when it is very amazing, I would make it longer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, like fun. Yeah.
And sometimes, actually, what I do is that I look at my plate and I go, it's like confirming something. Like I don't know, but I do it naturally. Right. What about you, Mohammed? So we have here, my friends, some wonderful expressions. And those wonderful expressions are actually used, okay, to talk about food. And some of these expressions, my friends, are about positive opinions. Some of them are about negative opinions. Some of them are softening disagreement, and some of them agreeing tactfully. So, what I want you to do is to look at these expressions and match them with their categories by writing 1, 2, 3, like that. Okie dokie. So, let me do the first one with you. The flavors were absolutely spot on. So, which category, okay, do you think this would go to? Raise your hands if you have an answer.
I think it's positive opinion.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so you know what you need to do. It's a matching activity. Let me send you this activity to your WhatsApp group. Now, my friends, let me send you to breakout rooms, okay, to discuss your answers together. Let me do that.
That's an interesting take, but I'd say that totally I couldn't agree more about the atmosphere. I think it's softening this disagreement.
Why? That's not a disagreement. He say he couldn't agree more. It means he's at his maximum of agreeing. So it's agreeing, actually.
Don't know.
Yeah, I think it's agreeing. Yes, he couldn't agree more means he agrees.
Which means
Yes, of course, yeah. Yeah. I can't agree more, it's agree.
Yes, agree more than that.
Okay, my friends, welcome back to the main session, and let's check these. So the second one, frankly, the service was a letdown. Nisma, what do you think?
Negative opinion.
Yes, that's a good answer. Thank you. Now moving to number 3. Now, what I want you to do, and I want everybody to turn on the cameras. Okay? And what I will do, it's very important for me that when I say one of those expressions, that I want you to copy, okay, 3 things. The words I say, how I say them, okay, and my body language. So whatever I do with my hands, you copy it, okay? Whatever I do with my face, you know, you will need only the upper part, so you don't need to worry about that. We're not going to kick anyone. Right. Okay. So the flavors were absolutely spot on. No, I didn't see your hands. The flavors were absolutely spot on. Okay, let me try it with Rahab. Can you say it one more time, Rahab?
Okay, the flavor were absolutely spot on.
No, I need my hand gestures. The flavor
were absolutely spot on.
Good. Let me listen to Hussein. Can you do it, Hussein?
The flavors were absolutely spot on.
I didn't see your hands. I want to see them.
The flavors were absolutely spot on.
Good. Kandil, I want you to do it. Like go like that. The flavors were absolutely spot on.
The flavor were absolutely spot on.
Good. Okay, now listen to this coming one, and then, okay, try to repeat it while your mics are off, and then I'll pick one by one. Okay. Frankly, the service was a letdown. Frankly, the service was a letdown. Now let me try this with Mughazi.
Frankly,
Yes.
service was a letdown.
I want to see your hands.
Again?
Yeah, I want to see your hands in the camera.
Okay. Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Yes. Okay. Move your hands like that. Say it
Camera.
one more time. Yes. Oh, the camera's not getting that. Okay, again, try it.
Yeah. Thankfully, the service was a letdown.
Good. Okay, I want you to put your feelings, everybody, in there. Like, you're expressing something that is not positive. So, your tone of voice needs to show that. So, Kandil, say it with the body language.
Frankly, the service was let down.
Was a letdown.
Was a let down.
Okay, Rahab?
Frankly, the service was a letdown.
The third one. That's an interesting take, but I'd say the portions were small. Totally. I couldn't agree more about the atmosphere. Totally. I couldn't agree more about the atmosphere. Now, listen carefully to this, my friend. The food looked great, but didn't live up to the hype. The food looked great, but didn't live up to the hype. Now let's listen carefully to this one, to number 6. Yes, the staff really went above and beyond. Yes, the staff really went above and beyond. Yes, the staff really went above and beyond. Went above and beyond. The staff really went above and beyond. Went above and beyond. Muhammad? It was a 5-star experience from start to finish. I see your point, but I had a different experience. I see your point, but I had a different experience. I want you, my friends, to choose one expression from each category. And I want you to create your own body language. You don't have to follow what I did now. It's up to you. If you love what I did, then you can keep it. If you want something new that would go more with your personality, fair enough, your choice, okay? But I want you to keep it in your head, memorize it, okay? Like, for example, my own body language for the first one, the flavors were absolutely spot on. I will actually go with my thumbs up, but maybe you prefer something else. It's up to you. At least each one will have 4, okay, expressions with 4 body language gestures. When you're ready, raise your hands. Take your time. Okay, my friends. Now, what I want you to do, listen carefully. I want you to mirror your friend. Okay. How? Like Rahab will say something now, and she will use her own body language. So you need to make sure, Rahab, that we can see your hands in the screen. And then what I would do as Shady is that I'm going to mirror what Rahab said. So let's try it here before I send you to breakout rooms. So Rahab, can you do it?
Yes. Okay. The flavor were absolutely spot on.
The flavors were absolutely spot on. Okay, so this is Rahab style. Lovely. That's what I want you to do, my friends. Okay, I'll send you to breakout rooms. And what I want you to do, one will say it and the other will mirror. And then when your friend is finished, the other one will start saying their sentences and you try to mirror the body language and the tone of voice, everything. So let me send you to breakout rooms.
That's an interesting take. But I'd say the portions were small.
All right. That's an interesting thing. But I'd say that the portions were small.
Yeah.
Good.
We are part of here.
Right. Next.
Okay.
Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Again.
Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Okay.
Say it again, please. Say it again.
Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Okay. Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Yes.
Okay, my friends, welcome back to the main session. Right. Okay. So, I want someone to tell me about some of the phrases or expressions you copied from your friends with their body language.
All right. Mrs. Rehab, she said this. You may say yes. The flavors were absolutely spot on.
Okay, that was a body language for it. Okay, good. And Kandil, what do you remember?
I see your point, but I had a different experience.
Oh, okay. And that was for who?
Muhammad.
Okay.
M&M.
And Rahab, do you remember something?
So yes, Dr. Muhammad, he said that frankly, the surface was let down.
Okay. Then we come to stage number 3, which is a sort of a psychological stage, and it is called transformation. So the first stage is priming, and the second stage is anchoring, and the third stage is transformation. What's transformation in neuro-linguistic programming? It's simply helping someone to change the way he thinks about something. Of course, we want that change to be from negative to positive. So to help someone change the way he or she thinks about something. This is what we call transformation. And in English language teaching, the aim will be to help learners replace negative beliefs with confidence, and encouragement and great feelings about the language. So that's what we want to do with this stage in English language teaching. Now, what's included inside the transformation stage? You can do 3 things. First, to identify the negative beliefs the students have about the target language. And that can be simply by asking them, which areas do you think will be difficult here in this lesson, or when it comes to the language we've just presented? And you listen, as a coach. And then they keep telling you about the problems, and then what you do is that you do the second stage, which is reframing. Like you say, no, don't worry. It's just you're feeling that now, but this feeling will go away with practice. It's just because you're still learning. So absolutely fine that you're struggling with finding the right vocabulary now, but I'm sure that through practice you will be fantastic. So you don't need to have those negative feelings about, so actually you make students feel safe and you make them feel confident, and you try to eliminate all these negative feelings from them about the target language, and you make them confident. So again, the first thing is identifying the negative feelings, and then after that, reframing. Okay? And reframing means make students feel sure about themselves and make them feel confident again. And finally, dissociation. Now, what is dissociation in neuro-linguistic programming? It's actually stepping outside of your emotion and watching yourself from the outside, so you can stay calm and think more clearly. That's the term dissociation, and this is what it means in neuro-linguistic programming. But what about English language teaching? How can this term be used in ELT? And you can do this by saying to students, I want you to imagine watching yourself from the outside as a confident speaker. And again, this can be done through an activity where you say, for example, to students, I want you to imagine that you're a weak, student, and your friend here will be helping you improve in your language. So when students imagine, that they are weak, so it's as if you were giving them the feeling that this is not me. So as long as it's not me and I'm acting, there is nothing to be, worried about. and it's okay because my job is to play a weak student, and my friend needs to support me and help me, that sort of stuff. So let's see how this is actually applied in the coming part. Have you ever thought or said any of the following to yourself? And I'm talking here about whether silently or aloud. Like, have you ever thought of, I never know how to express my opinion clearly. I always forget the right words. I'm afraid of sounding rude when I disagree. Have you ever had those feelings before?
Yeah, for me, yes, that happened a lot.
Oh, okay. I mean, for which one, Mughezi? The three, or two of them, or one, or?
1 and 3, lots of time.
Okay, so A, B, or C? Which one? Let's go one by one. I never know how to express my opinion clearly. Did this happen to you before?
Yeah, I sometimes feel that I'm like moving in circles around which I want to reach to. I can't go directly to the point.
And why do you think this happens?
Maybe because I don't know a lot of words.
Yeah, but you don't need to feel bad about this because, I mean, simply, you're in the process. I was there, actually. There was a time also when I didn't know how to express myself clearly because I felt, I need to do something about my vocabulary, getting it better. But it happens over the time as long as you're practicing and you're training, so you'll get there. And what about, I always forget the right words. Does this happen to you?
Yeah, sometimes, but it's easy to find another words that work.
Yeah. I mean, if it happens to you, it happens, I believe, to everybody. Okay, but the most important thing is that you know how to use other words in order to express yourself as well. So, my friends, I have here a lovely activity. Okay, it's actually a role play. And you are going to play actually two characters. Okay? But these two characters have nothing to do with you. You're going just to take these roles. One will be the self-doubting diner. Okay? So a diner, okay, who doesn't trust, himself or herself. Okay? And a coach. You will be helping this person who doesn't trust himself. Okay, wait a minute. So, we have two characters now. Someone who doesn't trust himself and someone who's a coach, okay, who will help this person. So you're going to imagine that you are at a restaurant and you want to express your opinion about this restaurant. So instead of saying that the restaurant was bad, yeah, okay, that's correct English, but it's not very expressive, right? We want you to be more detailed, okay? So the coach will help with that. How? The inner coach can ask, okay, 3 types of questions. So you have clarifying questions, like you would say, what exactly didn't meet your expectations? Was it the food, the service, or the atmosphere? And you're going to give reframed suggestions like, that's fair. You could say the flavors didn't blend well, that sort of stuff. Or anchored expressions, like from the expression that we studied before. Okay, like that's an interesting point, but I see your point. Perhaps you mean the service felt rushed. From my perspective, So simply, someone is at a restaurant, suffering with language. You don't know how to express yourself. And someone is a coach trying to help this person by making his English better in expressing, themselves. So are you ready? What I will do now, I will send you this handout, and you're going to prepare. Remember, you will play both roles. Once you finish, you will exit change.
Sure.
This time you will work in pairs. So let me check that everybody is here. Ahmed, Hussein, cameras, and Nisma, Qandil, and Mughazi. The cameras, please. Nisma, are you there? Yes, good. And Hussein, are you there? Hussein!
I'm there.
Okay, because this is pair work, so you cannot disappear.
I can't explain what I mean, but I don't know if they can do it better, or I can't explain it.
Okay, you can take it step by step. Let's talk about the
food.
positives.
Okay, the first thing, the food. I think the flavors didn't blend it well.
Okay. And what about the things that you didn't like with the food?
The food. The food. The taste of the food is awful. The taste of the food is awful. I can't explain it. Yeah. I can't explain what I mean.
Okay. Let's try to use simple words
Yes.
to describe life.
Yes.
All right. When I went there, I didn't like the food at all. It was really bad.
Okay. What exactly didn't meet your expectations?
I mean, the taste, it wasn't that good. The taste of the food seemed like it was so bitter that I couldn't even put it for more than a second in my mouth.
Sir, I'm so tired of your place. Everything here was so bad.
Okay, what exactly didn't meet your expectations?
Everything. From the beginning, I ordered the food for about 3 hours to just order the line, and then I'm waiting 45 minutes to take my order.
Okay, welcome my friends to the main session. Right. Okay. So, now, again, right, so one was a critic and one was a diner. And I want someone to tell me how were you able to help those diners in distress, those who were unable to express themselves? What were some of the tips you gave them? How did you help them, extend their language?
Okay. Me and Miss Heba, we've been talking about all the negative things about restaurants, so we forgot to mention any positive thing. So, but anyway, she was trying to express her feelings about she didn't like the restaurant for a reason, and then I asked her to specify the thing that she didn't like, and she told me that it was kind of noisy. I asked her whether or not whether it's because of the customers or because of the waiters. She told me it's because of the waiters. So I told her that you can say, frankly, the service.
So how did you help Rahab, to have better ways of expressing herself and her opinions?
Yeah, when we were talking about the atmosphere of the restaurant, she talked about the light and the music and the background. She said that it's like annoying and didn't let her to enjoy the nice atmosphere of the restaurant. And actually it was distracting.
So now we said stage number 1 is priming. Stage number 2 is anchoring. Stage number 3 is transformation. And stage number 4 is habituation. And what is habituation in neuro-linguistic programming? And it starts with the part habits. And actually it's about that, because it means getting used to a new way of thinking, feeling, or speaking by doing it over and over and over again. And in English language teaching, what would be the aim of this stage? To build confidence and fluency through low pressure repeated practice. And again, when I say low pressure repeated practice, this means that lots of drilling can be used here in this stage. Controlled practice tasks. Some might say, Shady, I feel that we need to do a lot of activities here. But as English teachers, we don't have, the right time all the time. But again, so it depends on your time here. It's preferred that you run, 3 controlled practice tasks. Of course, that will take some time, but actually the rationale is to get students in the habit of using the target language. And in the demo lesson that I did on Google Meet, you're going to watch actually a couple of activities. The first one is called Speed Opinion Rounds, and the second one is called Shadowing a Confident Speaker. I actually skipped one that is also wonderful activities, and we call it Swish Practice. And what's swish practice? What is this term, swish? And let me clarify it quickly. Swish in neuro-linguistic programming means is to train your brain to switch from a negative habit to a better one. One more time. To train your brain to switch from a negative habit to a better one. And of course, in teaching language, is to switch from using weak language or inaccurate language to better and accurate language. So this. And also, there is a lovely activity that I want to show you now, because I actually didn't do it in the demo lesson. And as you see here, it says replacing weak food opinions. For example, it was okay or not bad. So write down 3 vague phrases you often use when describing food, like it was good, I didn't like it, it was okay. And then you get your students, after writing the 3 weak, or vague phrases, you get them to write them in more details, right? Like saying something like, the portion size was disappointing, but the spices were well balanced. Okay, that sort of stuff. So this is the activity. Now let's go and see the other one. The Speed Opinion Rounds and Shadowing a Confident Speaker. And as you see here on the screen, we have, 8 opinions, right? Like the first one, the restaurant was overpriced for what it offered. Now what I want you to do, with your partner will say an opinion and you have to respond to it. You can respond with either, softening disagreement or agreeing tactfully. But what is so important for me that you have to be very quick with this. Everyone will be given 30 seconds, like you will use the stopwatches. And then after the 30 seconds, you will switch. So half a minute and then you switch. And then half a minute and then you switch. And then half a minute and then you switch. So you'll go like that. One and one. Okay, so let me ask you, Muhammad. So, for how long, will someone give, the opinions or respond to the opinions? For how long?
For 30 seconds.
Yes, and then you will do what?
For 30 seconds.
Yes, you switch and you start again.
Then we...
Exactly, and then you switch and start again, and then you switch and start again. So you do it like that. Right, so, let me, my friends, send you to breakout rooms. Let me send you this task first.
Service matter more than taste.
I understand where you are coming from, but I see it a bit differently. Waiting 45 minutes for a dish is never acceptable.
Frankly, the service was a letdown.
Welcome back to the main session. Let me share the screen one more time. Who's ready, to respond quickly to some of the things I will say from here? Let me start with Mughazi. Look, Mughazi, I will say an opinion, but you're not going to wait. You have to respond to me immediately. Are you ready? Service matters more than taste.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I see it a bit differently.
How?
The restaurant is not just the taste. You should have a nice service too, good treatment, nice atmosphere.
But this is what I'm saying. I'm saying service matters more than taste. Taste is not everything.
Yeah, that's right. But for sure, you're going to the restaurant for food too. You need to enjoy all that together.
Yeah, but again, I mean, to be honest, I mean, if the food is nice but the service is not, sometimes this can get you out of the mood and you're not happy, and then you just want to leave even before you taste the food.
I'm totally on board with that. Yeah.
Okay, right. So, my friends, now let me take you to a challenging activity. And in this challenging activity, and let me share the screen first. Just let me scroll down. You are going to watch a food blogger. Actually, this food blogger is in Egypt, and he's actually paying a visit to a falafel restaurant. So I want you to listen carefully to his intonation. Also, watch his emotions, gestures, everything. Okay, so simply cover these. Where does the speaker rise and fall in terms of intonation? What feelings does he express? How does he move, okay, when describing the food? And what do you notice about the whole thing? Okie dokie? So let me share the video with you.
Let's see what Egyptians eat for breakfast. There's a huge crowd already standing out front waiting for breakfast. The breakfast rush is in full force. Oh man, they're fast too. They're on turbo sandwich making skills. They're sandwich engineers, Egyptian sandwich engineers. We're gonna start from the falafel, and they make the falafel fresh. We're gonna see the whole process. Okay, and that fresh batch is ready. Green on the inside, golden crispy on the outside with that sesame seed crust. Fresh batch. Oh, look at that interior. Steaming hot. Wow. Shukran. The entire breakfast spread is here. Oh man. Wow. Now that is a falafel. It's so crispy on the outside, plus the crispiness and aroma of the sesame seeds.
Yeah.
Break it off. The normal falafel is excellent as well. You can't go wrong, but when you have stuffed falafel, why wouldn't you? With that extra chili on the inside, that takes it to another level. Special falafel, stuffed with an egg on the inside. Never seen this before. He called it the eye of the chick.
عين كتكوت, yes.
That is an awesome creation.
Yeah, it's very good.
Okay, right. Now, the job will be more difficult. Because what I want you to do is to watch it again, and I want you to shadow what this food blogger is saying at the same time. While your mics are off, but I want you to give it a try. Like, try to say the same words at the same time, right? Subtitles would help you here as well. Are we ready? Okay. So let's give it a try. Okay, my friends. Right. Now, let's have a look at this video from the very beginning. Let's go through it. What sort of expressions and usages are there? Okay, so let's try to analyze it together, my friends. Okay, and then I will pause every now and then so that we can talk a bit, right?
Let's see what Egyptians eat for breakfast. There's a huge crowd already standing out front waiting for breakfast. The breakfast rush is in full force.
The breakfast rush is in full force. What does that mean? It's a lovely expression. The breakfast rush is in full force. That's a very good one, eh? Right. Let me write that in the chat box. Okay. The break.
I think he maybe means that it's kind of rich and full of heavy, I mean.
Yeah, like when you say the breakfast rush, it means that everybody is running, trying to finish. Because that's the feeling that you get. Everybody is busy and in full force, like lots of customers. Okay, so that's why
to serve, I think.
Yeah, it's exactly
to serve.
Yes, exactly. Like it's something that you see a lot when you go to famous restaurants. The breakfast rushes because there are so many customers. So, people working are trying to do their best in order to serve as many people as possible in a very short time. Okay, so lovely expression. Let's continue this. So the first one is the breakfast rush is in full force. Now let's go to another one.
Oh man, they're fast too. They're on turbo sandwich making skills.
Now look at this. Turbo sandwich making skills. Turbo sandwich making skills. What does he mean by that? Now let's move to the last stage. So we talked now about priming. We talked about anchoring. We talked about transformation. We talked about habituation. And the fifth one is autonomy. Now, what's autonomy in neuro-linguistic programming? And simply is to think, speak, and act on your own with confidence. Okay. And in English language teaching, that's what we want. To enable students to speak freely using the target language, independently and that kind of stuff. Wonderful. Which is very close to what we do in English language teaching, and we call it freer practice. Okay, it's the same idea, right? So you get your students to write freely, or you get them to speak and practice the language in a free way. As we did here in this demo lesson, let's go and watch. Let's, my friends, now move to a lovely discussion activity to wrap up this session with. And all I want you to do here, okay, is to read these 7 statements, okay? And then with your partners, I want you to discuss whether you agree, disagree, and of course I want you to use the expressions we learned today. But not only the expression, I want you to discuss more, okay? Like when you say, for example, street food offers the best culinary experiences, and then I say, no, I don't think so. It's not all the time, I don't agree. And then you move on. You have to say why and your friend. So I want you to make it a real discussion. Not only you use the expression and you move away. No, I want follow-up question. Why? And I want you to challenge your friend's opinions. Okay? And I want you to be ready with an expression from the ones we learned today to use. At least each one will choose 4 of these 7 to talk about. And I will send you to work in pairs. Okay? So you need to be there for your partner. And of course, remember when you're talking to use your body language. Okay? It will help you a lot recall these expressions and remember them.
Food bloggers are more honest than restaurant critics. I don't agree with that. I totally disagree with that. I think the restaurant critics say the advantage and disadvantage of the food. I know your point of that, that food bloggers sometimes they can be honest. But from my point of view, I think restaurant critics are better than them. Because food bloggers can take money to say that the food is great. That's what I see. What about you, Mr. Ahmed?
Online reviews are more useful than personal recommendation. So you have to, as I said before, you have to take the experience first on, and then you will judge in the next time.
Chewing the food make your mouth watering, and you need to try it. They recommend, they try to recommend the restaurant as a customer, so they help you out to find out your point. And if they are, passionate about the restaurant, you feel it.
Okay, I agree with you. Okay, but I said before, I don't like food, so
it's not your thing. It's not your thing. You are not in it. Okay.
It's like the trust. Some people trust that person because of some previous situations that he made.
I never trust anyone unless I know him personally. That's all for me.
Yeah. I agree with you. We do at this point that you don't have evidence to make you trust the blogger, for example. Most of the time they are paid. So for sure they are not going to say that the negative points.
Okay, and what are some of the interesting ideas you discussed with your partners? Okay, so tell me. I would love to hear about your partner's opinions, not yours, Mughazi.
But the new thing is that they are made to say some negative comments to let people we are going to try this restaurant to discover if it's really bad or not.
Yeah.
Like the comments. Yeah.
Especially if they're hated. Like hatred is power, because some food bloggers are hated here in Egypt, as we know. And once this food blogger would say something bad about a restaurant, that would be the best advertisement for this restaurant, because people will actually act, in an opposite way. They will go to that restaurant to prove he's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's, I believe in that as well. Right. Other opinions that you heard from your partners?
Mr. Ahmed Khandi, and he told me the service matter more than taste. If the service is bad, but you taste the food is delicious and tasty, you could go on.
Now, the final stage will be the self-reflection, which is, helping students to see what they have learned in the lesson by, giving them an exit ticket activity, like this one, for example. Let's have a look at it together. So here we have, reflect on what you have learned today. And then, today I expressed myself best when I said, and they complete. The phrase I'll definitely use again is, Next time I want to sound more confident, natural, fluent, polite. So that sort of stuff. So my friends, now, Neuro-linguistic programming. And the suggested framework in today's episode is starting with priming, anchoring, transformation, habituation, autonomy, and finally, self-reflection. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Frameworks. Thank you so much for watching. Until we meet again. Bye-bye.